What's up, guys? Hope everyone's been doing good, enjoying the league. It's been about a month since my last video, mainly due to the league. Playing a lot. I've been streaming on Twitch every day since the league released, so feel free to check me out there. But that's not what this video is about. This video, we're going to be talking about my build. This build is good for most things in the game. Kind of wanted to wait until I had a good understanding of what I wanted from the build before I made a video on it. So yeah, that's right now. This video isn't really going to be a leveling, or it's not going to have a leveling portion to it. So mainly because I used a bunch of different stuff, and once I got to Endgame, I needed to figure out good boss damage, and that's where Primal Strikes comes in. Lightning Spear is going to be your main damage clear for most maps, but Primal Strikes and Storm Lance is your boss damage. There's some variations of this with Ritualist like I have, but for the most part, besides Lightning Spear and Primal Strikes, they have completely different skill setups, support gems, gear setups, skill tree. Everything is pretty much different besides just those two skills. So, and the way that you utilize them is completely different as well. We're doing crit. They do based on low life damage. So completely different setup. This build came together just through trial and error of different skills and support gems. I didn't really know what to do at the end, but I needed to do boss damage, so just figured out Primal Strikes was a good way to combo that with Spirits and Shock. So this is what came together. I do want to give a shout out to my chat for suggesting some support gems. For example, I had a chatter suggest that I was using Fork when Fork was already available on Tangle Tongue after I upgraded, so that was a huge help. And then shout out to Prada as well, who helped me make some defensive changes with Subterfuge and Eternal Youth, which pretty much made me invincible once I made those changes. So shout out to everyone who helped with this build and make it what it is today. I think this build is certified T4 abuser. You can do anything and everything with this build. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the build. You get something from it. If you guys have any questions, put it down in the comments below, or feel free to visit my Twitch. It'll be in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Let's get into the fucking video. To start, we'll talk about why you maybe want to switch to this build, and then what this build can offer you if you do switch to it. So one reason you might want to switch is if you're just tired of Lightning Spear, Storm Lance as your main damage. Primal Strikes will be a great boss damage to add. You won't really have to do much. And 2, it does an insane amount of damage, and it's quick clear for pretty much anything. And then 3, if you're just bored and want to add something new or a new rotation of skills, this is a good way to do it. This build offers a ton of defense as well as a ton of damage. So we scale off evasion, which is 7,600, and energy shield, which is almost 4,100. We do get a ton of life as well. So as you can see, we're almost at 6,200 effective HP. We are at 6,200. Almost at 6,300. Mana wise, we don't scale too much. Resist, very easy to get because we have 3 rings and the Sacred Flame. We'll talk about other ways to get resist and stuff. You get solid mana recovery, and then you will get a lot of movement speed. This build focuses heavy on movement speed. You could get way more. I'll talk about some ways. This build focuses heavily around movement speed because that's how we generate our charges for Lightning Spear from our Volt, and we'll talk about that when we talk about skills. But yeah, that's it for just kind of the overview. We don't stack any stats for damage. We do strength for life, but we don't stack it. We just get what we need for requirements, and the rest goes to strength for life. So that's the idea of how we play. Nothing scaled on any of these stats. For gear, your ideal is a Tangle Tongue. You should be able, most people should be able to afford this, at least like a 15%. They're relatively cheap. If you can't, try to get the highest crit damage with elemental damage and fizz damage, and then sock it in some lightning runes. If you can't get this, if you do get a Tangle Tongue, I recommend as high crit chance as you can. The reason we want this is because the way crit scales off the weapon, that's the highest scaling. Everything is multiplied by the crit off the weapon. This is called the local crit, and everything else is called the global. I'm not going to talk about that, so if you want, feel free to look up how crit works, but that's a big reason why we want and why the Tangle Tongue is so good. Another reason is Fork's crit hits. So we're going to crit most hits, so that means we're going to Fork. We added a support gem that helps with this, so I'll talk about that. But yeah, Tangle Tongue is ideal, and then you want 2 crit damage nodes. You could put the 60% elemental nodes if you don't have the money, but crit damage is the best. Shout out Prada for that as well. For Scepter, you're going to want Sacred Flame for the best in slot because it provides the most damage and a lot of extra bonuses as well. But if you can't afford this, grab a scepter. Ideally, you want 150 spirit with mana regen, and reduced attribute requirements, just because it's going to be tough to fill out like 130 in early on. But if you can't, just get mana regen and attribute requirements. You don't have to get mana and then get decent spirit, at least 145, 150. So you can you don't have to switch too much. And then the spirit or the scepter that you want to get is the Omen Scepter, because of the crit damage ability that comes with it, Malice. So that's your best in slot for scepter. And then what you want if you can't afford it. For helmet, we're going to be looking for ES. So as high ES as you can get with life, crit chance, any resist. You can get rarity on here if you can fit it. We don't scale on accuracy. We do not need mana. So life, ES, crit chance, any resist, some rarity if you want it. You can also fill any attribute requirements here. So it just depends on how your build is set up and what gear you have. So it's got to be on you to figure out what you need in each slot to max your gear. I'm going to give you the baseline of what you need. So for this, you're going to want a Falconeers because it has 5% movement speed. We are a movement speed based build, so we need that as much. You're also going to want life, 150 minimum. If you can get 200, get 200, and then any life resist. If you can get stun threshold, get that. That helps. If not, this would be the ideal setup. Chaos resist is probably not going to happen for you, and then just get evasion and energy shield. This is the only piece of armor that has evasion, just because we can scale a lot off of it. So try to get as high evasion and energy shield as you can on this. For gloves, we're going energy shield as high as you can as well. Lightning damage, fizz damage. Then we want crit damage bonus, attack speed, dex. Don't want rarity. We don't want resistances on here, just because gloves can offer a lot of offensive. So attack speed's not necessary. If you can get fizz damage, that'd be great. If you get additional crit damage, that'd be great. +2 melee skills isn't really necessary. You could add it if you want. It's not going to add a ton of damage to primal strikes, and it'll be a ton more mana cost for the lack of damage. So just keep that in mind. For boots, either 35 or 30. 35 is optimal. As high as energy shield as you can get with life, rarity, attributes, or resist, whatever those you need to blend out. So if you need 2 resists, no attributes, because you're good. If you have enough rarity, don't get rarity. Always get life if you can on every piece of gear. But yeah, whenever you can get other ones, make sure to get it. Get life on here if you can. If you can't, the prefixes are maxed out. Don't worry about it. Gloves are a really good offensive weapon. For a belt, you're going to want ingenuity. That's going to be the best scale, because our whole class scales our rings. So our best items are generally going to be our rings. We want one with additional charm slot. Our Ascendancy gives us 1 extra, so we want all 3 maxed out. And then we want, if you can, get an enchanted with maximum energy shield for more defense. If you can't, that's okay, but that'd be the ideal setup. For rings, we want 1 unset ring, and then the rest can be kind of up to you. I use all elemental prismatic rings to help me cap my resistances. If you have those capped through other methods, feel free to switch it up, but you need 1 unset to max all the abilities that we're using, and the rest is up to you. On one of the rings, you're going to want fire and cold damage. It doesn't have to be on the same ring, but you're going to want that. You're going to want life on your rings, any type of rarity that you're not getting anywhere else. You don't need rarity on a ring if you're maxed out. I recommend minimum 70, but do not prioritize it. Rarity is the absolute last thing that should be added to a build. Like it's not really, it is going to provide a ton of loot drops, but it's not going to provide your build with what you need to sustain. And that's like where you need to get your build first when you're entering T15, is somewhere where it can sustain, it can do damage and stay alive. So make sure to get life, make sure to get any resist that you don't have on your other gear. So yeah, to continue, we want all elemental resist. I have that on all my rings, and then the rest is mana regen. A little bit of mana regen is great on our build, just because it helps with our boss damage when we're doing primal strikes and casting sniper, taking a lot of mana. Other than that, we don't really use a lot of mana, so it's good to have a little bit. For your other rings, lightning, as high as lightning as you can get. If you can get fizz damage or cold damage or fire damage on those rings as well, that's huge. If you get % lightning damage, that's huge. If you can't, life is fantastic. For the suffixes, you're going to want either rarity, like I said before, or any type of attributes that you need filled, reses. Lastly, you can do mana regen. That will be a good one. As you can see on this ring is lightning damage, life, rarity, res, int. The int and res is super low, but I was going for high life and lightning damage because all my attributes are met. For the amulet and the anoint, I'd recommend storm charge just because that's going to get you the most damage and crit. There are a couple of different ones you can take. You could take overwhelming strike is a good one as well. That's the one I would definitely recommend if you can't afford it for some reason, or you can't get, or you don't want to get the other one. I would recommend that one. Other than that, there's not very many that I would recommend. Those are pretty much the only ones I would recommend. If you do need critical exploit, you can get that here. There are defensive nodes that you can also get as well, but I would recommend sticking with those offensive nodes. You could get patient barrier, but yeah, stick with the ones that I suggested first. I just think those are going to provide way more value to the anoint spot. You could do rarity next for the anoint. You could do, it depends on you, and if you need it, it's the spot you can fill. You can get all res here, you can get spirit, whatever you need to fill your build. Next, life is kind of one of those filler spots. You definitely want energy shield percent, and you definitely want spirit. So however you can fit that, if you can get life in the extra slot, if you can get evasion percent, whatever you can find that you can find around your budget, get in that slot. For the suffixes, you want +3 projectile skills, and then the other two is kind of up to you. I need all elemental and int to fill out. Ideally, you'd want crit chance and crit damage, but that's going to be a little bit expensive, and it's hard to find something as perfect. So whatever around that you can find. If you can find a +2 projectile, but it has high crit chance, and you already have your reses filled, grab that. So that's just how to think about it. For flask, we're just looking for highest life flask and then chance on kill or charge on kill. This is because we recover life, or we recover energy shield instead of life, and we'll talk about that with the skill tree. And then for mana, increase mana, and then either charges gained or charge on kill, whichever one. For the charms, it's kind of a little debatable. You can switch out this frenzy one. If you notice you're getting frenzy charges or you don't really need it, you can swap this for a stun charge. I leave this on just in case. I think it helps a little bit. Staunching for consecrated ground. Consecrated ground, if you don't know, helps you regen max life, and then also has curse reduction. So this is huge. And then with our Ascendancy, we basically get unlimited charges. So we definitely want to always have this on. And then last, either freeze or stun immunity. However you want to flip-flop these, or whichever ones you find most useful to the way your playstyle is running. I'm giving you guys options, and then you guys can kind of figure out what you want to do with that. Next, we're going to talk about the skill tree. With the skill tree, we're going to start with the Ascendancy. For the first 2 points, you're going to want reduced mana. I mean, whichever one kind of fits, but I recommend reduced mana and your extra ring slot, and then the attributes and bonuses to rings and amulets. Early on, this is not that great, but when you get into the late game and you can get very top tier rings, this scales like crazy, and it's very, very overpowered. After that, you want to grab the extra charm slot, 2 on the belt, and then 1 from here. However, you can mix that, and then the max mana to trigger charms, basically giving you unlimited charm slots, or unlimited charm charges. Very, very good to have. Now let's talk about the skill tree. Kind of go over some notables that you guys want to grab, and then what we're looking to do with the skill tree, and also some other pathing methods that you guys can do to change up the tree based on what you want out of it. But yeah, you're going to want Primal Sundering, Cooked, Escape Velocity, Maiming Strike, Acceleration. You're going to want all of those. You're going to want to come down to here. So when we're fighting Uber bosses, you're going to want all of these selected. That's going to give us the max lightning penetration that we need for Uber bosses, so 75 penetration. When you're not fighting Uber bosses, you can unspec these, and you can spec them into these nodes right over here to give you additional lightning damage. These also give you lightning penetration, so you could go here if you want, or you can stick them somewhere else. This is just an option. You can leave them there. I leave them there because I don't need extra damage and I don't want to have to move them around, so that's up to you. I have this allocated with Megalomaniac. So I also have Manifold Method, which is just a little bit extra mana leech. That's just the best combo that I found at the best price. So going from there, we're going to go up and we're going to grab all of these crit nodes. We're going to grab this Jewel node, and we're going to path here. We're going to grab Subterfuge Mask. A great suggestion by Prada. Shout out you, man. Thank you. And then we're going to path up here to grab additional crit chance against shocked and magnitude of shock with shock chance, because shock is big in our build, and that's what we're using with primal strikes to trigger spirits. From here, we're going to path here. Early on, you're going to want to grab these, and then as soon as you can get these nodes, grab these. These are going to give you a little bit more defense. And as soon as you can, grab Eternal Youth. Eternal Youth is going to switch your life flash charges over to heal your energy shield instead of your life. It's very effective once you have a decent amount of energy shield, which I would say at least 2k 2500, enough that your mana flask can fully fill it up at 20-30%. That's what I would recommend. That's how I've been staying alive. So lastly, we're going to want to path over to the crit damage nodes. Again, if you're a higher level and you have all your 92, 93, you have a lot of these nodes unlocked, you can path over. If you're a little bit lower, you can take these nodes out. You can take some of these nodes out. If you have enough defense, you can spec these two out as well. Ideally, we're looking for the most amount of movement speed. If you're looking for additional movement speed, you have movement speed here. We have a few movement speed nodes around, but most of them we grabbed. The build is about movement speed, so we try to grab as many movement speed nodes as we can. I had this path, but it was just not worth the points either way for this. We really don't scale on accuracy. We don't use parry, and these are really not necessary. There's good movement nodes over here as well, but it's just not worth the extra skill points. So this is the best combination that I found. So you're getting heavy attack damage with crits, you're getting penetration, proper elemental penetration, you're getting proper defense, you're getting proper scaling, shock chance, movement speed, everything that the build needs to really thrive. You're getting enough of it. So this is a really solid build, a lot of fun to play, invincible. Pretty much you can do anything with it. It's a stamp of approval for everything. This build will pretty much get everything done for you. It's fun to use. It's fun to balance projectile and melee, having both of it. Some people only like one, but it's fun to have both. It's interactive combat. It's fun to build up charges using Storm Lance and stuff like that. So yeah. Lastly, we'll talk about the jewels that we use with the build and kind of what we need to get the build going. Mainly, you're looking for Energy Shield and Recover Max Mana on kill. Those are the only two you really need. Energy Shield is more for defensive layering, so anywhere we can add that, we always add that. And then the Max Mana is great just to help us with clear and always have enough mana to pretty much supplement whatever we need. Next is Primal Strikes Prism Belief. This one is up to you. It's going to give you about 16-17k of damage, around like 5,500 5,800 damage per level. So it's kind of up to you. You could use crit strike, you can do additional defense, you can do a corrupted resistance, whatever you kind of need for to supplement your build. That's what jewels are there for. So I'm trying to give you guys some ideas of ways you can go. And then the last one, I'm going crit chance, proj, lightning penetration, and melee if projectile has been done. For this one, we're just looking for additive damage, defense, and a little bit lightning penetration. Again, these are just supplementary to whatever the rest of the skill tree is not giving you. So yeah, try to think of it that way and try to get jewels that, whether you need damage, defense, penetration, any type of buff to your skills, whatever you need, getting it through jewels is a good way to go. Another possible jewel option that you guys can use is Zealot's Oath. Zealot's Oath allows you to spec into Sharpened Claw, Tough Claw, and Swift Claw. These each give you 25% attack damage. So this is just if you're looking for strictly additional damage. Very cheap. It's only a few exalted. So if you're looking for additional damage and you don't want to spend a ton on a jewel, this might be a good option for you. Just be aware that you do need 3 additional skill points in order to be able to make use of it, but it's a good option and I want to mention it. Now for the last and most important part, the skills. I'll be going over the support gems and why we use them, and then what the skill rotation is and how we are using it for boss fights and for clears. So to start, for Purity of Fire, we're socketing anything that has spirit because we get that spirit for free basically, or at no cost. So we're socketing Cannibalism, Vitality, Clarity, and Herbalism. Some people socket Precision. We don't need that because we're not scaling on accuracy. So we just do life and mana regen. Next, we're going to talk about Primal Strikes. We'll come back and talk about Herald the Thunder and Cast on Shock once we get done with our main abilities. So for Primal Strike, we're stacking Primal Armament, Conk Effect, Elemental Focus, Overextend, and Pursuit. This is just to give us more damage. Each one of these is giving us as much damage as possible. This is giving us more damage once projectile hits, so it's not showing here in the tooltip. But and this one's giving us more crit damage, so not all of them are showing. But yeah, that's the idea with all of them. Before I used execute, but once I got to a certain damage threshold, I was one-shotting the boss at 35% low life anyways, so I kind of found that pointless. And we start our kind of rotation. We start our rotation with Stormlance anyways, so we get this 25% more melee damage regardless. The way Primal Strikes itself works is we do 3 strikes. On the 3rd strike, we consume a shock if the enemy is shocked, which it pretty much always is with the way we have it set up. And then we inflict lightning exposure, and we also unleash something called Spirits, which does insane amount of damage, and then also scales off crit. So we're just doing a crazy amount of damage. As you can see, it also has a screen wide effect of it, and we just do a ton of damage with it. Now for Lightning Spear, we have a little bit different setup than most builds. We are looking just to do damage. We're not looking for Lightning Spear to generate more charges for us. So we have Volt on, that's the only one that most builds have, and then we have Deliberation for more damage, Martial Tempo for more damage, Ambush for more crit chance on life. This is to basically one-shot anything that isn't a boss, and then Innervate, which gives us additional damage once we've killed a shocked enemy, which is every time with this. So that's kind of our general clear setup with Lightning Spear. You pretty much won't need anything else. Just go around, wait for Volt to generate 30 charges, and throw it. I'd recommend at least 20 to 30. You could just do it with 10. You could do it with 15. But if you want to get more screen clear, I recommend 30. And that's pretty much Lightning Spear. For Stormlance, we have Conduction, Scattershot, Lightning Exposure, and Stormfire. All of these are just there to kind of create more shock, which is the idea of our Stormlance. So for Stormlance, we throw the Stormlance down, and if we don't have a Frenzy charge, we are just using the Stormlance's kind of electricity to create more shock. And if we do have a Frenzy charge, we throw it down and it'll explode and create a shocked ground, which we consume to trigger our spirits. So regardless, we're always trying to have some type of shock. So that's why we have 100% more shock, we have lightning exposure, we have shocks. And the reason we have Stormfire is because on Trinity we have fire skills and we have fire in our rings as well. So we're trying to do as much shock as possible. So this is just a little bit to top it off. Stormlance isn't really your main damage dealer. I know for other builds, people use Stormlance as the main damage dealer. You can do damage with it with the Exploding Lance, but it's mainly there to proc shock. Now for Barrage, we're just using Barrage for additive damage to what we already have. We have it set up with Premeditation, Inhibitor, and Murderous Intent. This is just, like I said, to stack on additional damage. We have Inhibitor to not consume charges so that the charges can be used for Stormlance. If you have difficulty with charges and kind of keeping charges or getting charges, use Combat Frenzy. So yeah, Combat Frenzy is a great option if you need extra charges. Yeah, I don't really need it for my build, so I use the extra 30 spirit for different reasons, but that might be an option for you guys. One skill that I was using that I do not have socketed is Orb of Storms. It can be great for additional damage and mana regeneration through Font of Rage and Font of Mana. If you just need any of that for bossing, it's going to be hard. You can't really use it for clear, but for bossing, it's great. It can also apply a little bit of shock. I also had Neural Overload for a little bit of additional electrocution if I did get it, and then persistence as well. I had my tree spec a little bit different, so that's why I was using this. But yeah, persistence allows it to stay longer. This is just a side recommendation if you're finding that you're using too much mana with it, or you're not doing enough damage. You can supplement both with Orb of Storms. And the last thing we're going to touch on is all of these support skills that we use. So to start, we use Trinity. This is just giving us a ton more damage based on elements. So inside we have lightning mastery, cold mastery, and fire mastery, and that's because each one gives it a level. And then we also have, like I said before, fire and cold and lightning, all some sort of all 3 damage elements on our gear to help us proc all of those. We have Wind Dancer for defense. This just helps us get extra evasion and do additional damage when we do get hit with Gale Force. We have Maim, Arm's Length, and Blind socketed. This is just for Gale Force to kind of hinder enemies further if we're having trouble. Because that probably, if we're getting hit and this is getting proc, that means we're in a sticky situation, and this helps with that. The next support skill we're going to talk about is Ghost Dance. Ghost Dance is great because we have evasion and energy shield. What Ghost Dance does is allow us to use our evasion and converts it to what's called Ghost Shrouds. And then when we're hit, we use those Ghost Shrouds to recover energy shield. Inside we have socketed fast forward, and that's just to give us faster duration between gaining the ghost shards. So instead of it being 15 seconds, we cut it down to around 11 and a half. Now for Cast on Shock and Herald of Thunder, we use Cast on Shock for bosses, and then we turn it off and turn on Herald of Thunder for clearing. So Herald of Thunder clearing, Cast on Shock bosses. If you have enough spirit, you can leave both on. Just be aware that this is going to consume more mana the more you're casting it. So when you're casting, you're going to be casting it a ton with the skills that we have set up. Yeah, for these we have Sniper. Sniper just helps us get Frenzy Charge and more crit damage. Impetus to generate energy faster. Inspirations, so Sniper can cost less. And then Ingenuity, so we can cast it as often as possible. For Herald, we have Reach, Magnified Effect, Long Shot, and Deadly Herald. This is just scaling area effect and more damage. That's kind of the idea with these two. Yeah, another option you can go with is Cast on Crit, but be aware that Cast on Crit is 100 spirit. You will proc it often, and it does have benefits to using it, but Cast on Shock is a little bit better if you don't have as much spirit. That's pretty much it for the skills. The only other one I have to recommend is Overwhelming Presence if you have enough strength. This just allows you to stun the enemy easier and inflict shock and electrocution easier and ignite the other elements as well. So if you have enough spirit, feel free to use this, but it's not required. With that being said, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. Kind of gone over this whole build, everything from top to bottom. I think I got everything. If I missed anything, I'll be sure to add it to the end of this video, but if not, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or comments, be sure to put it down below. I'm open to any advice, or if you guys have any suggestions. Yeah, other than that, I want to thank you guys for watching the video. It took me a long time to make it, but also it took a lot of hard work because I wanted to get the build right, make sure you guys actually got a good final product and not some BS that you guys couldn't use. So yeah, hopefully someone can get something out of this build, or someone decides to use it, or it helps someone fix their build. Regardless, hopefully it helps in one way or another. You guys learned something from this. If this video helped, throw your boy a like, a little subscribe, goes a long way, helps me to grow in my channel, which I'm trying to do more and more. I'll be making more videos in the future, giving you guys some Path of Exile gameplay and whatnot. So yeah, without any more yapping, I just want to also say one more thing. If you guys like what you see here, please follow me on Twitch. The link will be down in the description below. I stream there every single day. That would also help a ton. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching and supporting. Peace out.